This is The Discourse with Dr. Ken.
Hello out there. At 2 o'clock, Discourse with Dr. Ken. I promised you that we're going to have a bumper special installment and episode today. It started with the rains, but today the weather is getting clearer and clearer and more clement. And therefore, we couldn't have had a better topic to discuss and dissect and put into perspective, because the sports windows, talking about football windows, are coming to a close less than 1 week from now. And I had promised you that I would do a 2.0 on this topic. Why? Because the conversation now is this thing called sports, this thing called specifically football, is it bigger than oil? You know, I promised you a very big personality to come and do justice to this, and he is here. I'm talking of Dr. Larry Izamoje. I'll give you his profile. I will make it short as much as possible, because that profile may as well take 1/4 of an hour, but I've tried to summarize it using all the skills I have in grammar and syntax. Welcome again. This is Sunday. This is Discourse with Dr. Ken. Welcome, Dr. Larry Izamoje.
Thank you very much.
How are you? How have you been?
Well, we thank God. We thank God, Dr. Ken. Good to see you.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, we're going to discuss not football so much, because this program tried to lay foundation for policy so that people out there, and then for even businesses to begin to put platforms and content and conversations into perspective. And the beauty of this program is that it carries everybody along, whether you are demographics is within the lower than 20s, or you are in the 30s, or you are in the 40s, or even the 70s. So it carries everybody. But it's a renewal program, and it's a program that brings relevance, that discusses all subjects that have that kind of span, from economics to culture to business and then to sports. But from sports today, we are going to center and concentrate on the commercial and the business side of it. Now, so we're going to deal with the economics of it. But let me even start with your profile. Listen, you started one of Nigeria's best radio stations, but the slant to that is that it's a sports station, because you saw tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I'm talking of how many years ago?
2002, so 21 years.
Can you imagine? So 21 years, you saw that there should be a unique selling proposition. It's not just radio for the sake of it. Other radio stations have thrived, but we're talking about a sports radio. So this is the chairman, founder, Brila FM. And then, of course, you've done many things. You know, I'm not going to read that profile, because I know the profile upstairs. By the way, you went to you're a graduate of the prestigious University of Lagos.
Yeah.
And I know that you got your first and second degree in sociology.
Yes, I did.
No wonder you understand the perspective of man. And when I talk about the perspective of man, his economics, his demographics, his sociology, his conduct and behavior, and then even how talent mixes with character. So what pushed you to sociology?
Well, I wanted to become a lawyer,
Okay.
but then you won't believe it. Today I look back and I say some of us were very foolish in school. We didn't listen very well to our English teachers.
Yes.
We thought that being very social would mean being a sociology graduate. Again, we went to schools in some very dark parts of Nigeria. And so as we kept doing things on the streets of Warri, our friends started calling different kinds of courses, and we saw that so many mentioned sociology, political science, pol science they called it then. So when it was time, I then put sociology, and Unilag gracefully admitted me. After the first degree, I didn't want to go to any other area, so I did a master's degree also in sociology, and after that work started until 2012. When I had to do a DBA.
Oh, fantastic. So, of course, you did that. You did. It's a vision. And why I ask that question is that so that young people understand that there is always a foundation to something. You can't build something if there is no foundation. You see, okay, sociology made him understand society, made him understand capabilities, and made him understand vision of how man and talent can come together and bring a break proposition, and understand that sports can become a business. It's not just something you comment on or something you enjoy. Some of you follow the EPL. If I tell you what is the value of the EPL, you stand dancing all over the place. But today, probably by the end of 1 hour, you would know the value. So we'll talk about the economics of this of the subject. We'll talk about the diplomas. We'll talk about how foreign policies are shaped around this program. But you at some point in your career, Larry, you had stint with FIFA. I remember even the Koja those days. By the way, we went to Manchester together. I remember, what was it in Manchester then? It was it Commonwealth Games. Then, of course, FIFA 2020. So, how did you enjoy that? Did you see it as business, or you were just doing the work of journalism?
Well, initially it was just the work of journalism because in those far-off years, we did not see the entrepreneurial side of it all. For me, it became entrepreneurial when Concord transferred me from mere reporting or pure reporting to its enterprise promotion section. We had the enterprise promotion section of Concord. Okay. So there you could go to companies, get ads from them, do promotional activities for them. And then I saw that, this can also bring some money. And it did. Bring money into Concord newspapers. Okay. And so when I left Concord, God moved me to DBN under our great senior brother, Osasoni Ado. Yes. And that was a young man who just came in from the US using sports as a money spinning tool, a money making tool. And so I learned a few from him. And when I left DBN, the only place to go was to go solo. That was how I sat down one evening, my wife and I, her name Bridget, my name Larry, first 3 letters from hers, and first 2 from mine. And that was how Brila was born.
Oh, fantastic. Let's start with the economics of it. Yeah. Now, how big is the economics of sports? How big is the economy? Let's even start with the continental Europe and EPL.
Right. Continentally, very, very big and indeed growing. And when we say continentally, we have very many continents. But if we begin with Africa, you just find that there's been this leap. I would like to even style it geometric. Because you find that more sponsors are beginning to show interest in the African game. And this draws from the current Global Sports Report, which was done by Business Research and reported by Market and Trends Ireland. They have said that globally, it was 486.1 billion.
Wow. Please
talking about the kind of money
take that number again.
That you get in global sports.
Yes,
486.1 billion.
Wow.
And that was
we're talking of dollars here.
Yes, dollars. My brother, that was just for 2022, the past year. 2022. As I sit here, the report that came out in April this year puts it at 5.12 billion.
Wow.
And they have projected that by 2027, it will rise to 623 billion. Wow. And what gladdens me is that Africa has been named as the continent where sports growth will be the greatest.
So it's the next frontier?
Yes, it is. And so you find that it is already beginning to show. And that's why those who are interested in investing in sports in Africa will not be making any mistake. Take, for example, the African Champions League. It was $2.5 million prize to the winner. And now Motsepe, CAF, has said from this year, it jumps to $4 million just to kick the ball around and win the trophy. The CAF competition, $2 million. And so it's beginning to grow. And now that the girls are also being hailed by FIFA, CAF is saying to our girls $400,000 for winning the CAF Champions League. So on the continent, it's growing. And everywhere you find that there's this leap. If you look at it, the biggest growth has come from the USA, again, because they are more advanced. And so those who are going into sports sponsorship, sports business, must look at the American models. For example, and let me tell the world here, Brila visits to the US, things they've been doing in the US. And I saw that when Africa had no sports radio station, America was already counting close to 200.
Wow.
So what we did was just to pick from the US and adapt in Africa. Did a lot of learning, went back to the US for some training. And that's how that business has come or thrived over the years. And so America represents 1/3 of global sports business. And then the UK, another 1/3. And so we find that both continents share about 66% and the rest of the world 34%.
Fantastic. Listeners, in case you've just joined us, the voice you are hearing is that of Dr. Larry Izamoje, not the marketing director of any multinational. Because if I didn't tell you the name, you would have thought that this is the marketing director of one of the multinationals. Well, where am I coming from? You see, for you to manage sports, you have to understand the entity. You have to understand the economics of it. You have to understand that the essence of it. How do you change this conversation that is upscale, if you like, upstream conversation, to a refinery which defines the product? And what do you need in a refinery? Design thinking before it goes to the downstream, which is the clubs themselves. So the question you ask is that, shouldn't a government think about all this when we think about people who manage our sports, especially at the ministerial level?
Yeah, government should think about it. It has to do with those who design these policies. You find that there are so many things that we've not been able to get right here. Sport is business. It is a big business. And so from the figures we've reeled out, time has come for government. Not even time. It's very late now.
No, we are late.
Very late.
Yes.
But it's still time. They can still press the button.
Yes.
This is the time to really kickstart because we cannot be left behind. Take, for example, those who were doing football in England saw at a stage that it was not money spinning. And so in 1992, there was a revolution, big revolution. And they all broke away from the then football league of England and formed their own
EPL.
Yes, and it became what we now know as EPL.
Hold it there, Dr. Larry, because EPL is going to be a major conversation today.
Okay.
Just so that we don't eat out of it so soon. Listen, we are struggling with numbers in Nigeria in terms of revenue, in terms of GDP. And look at the kind of numbers we're even throwing, especially when we are talking about potentials and opportunities. Listen to this. Top 10 highest paid athletes in the world, all time. The number one there is Michael Jordan, $3.3 billion. Number two, Tiger Woods, $2.5 billion. Number three, Arnold Palmer, $1.7 billion. Number four, Jack Nicklaus, $1.6 billion. Number five, Cristiano Ronaldo, $1.858 billion. Six, LeBron James, $1.53 billion. Lionel Messi, $1.4 billion. Floyd Weather, $1.4 billion. Roger Federer, $1.38 billion. And 10th, Phil Mickelson, $1.36 billion. Why I really have these numbers, Larry Izamoje, is that for a country that is struggling with revenues, we have many Ronaldos here. We have many Nicholsons here. What we don't have is a platform for these people to thrive. At what point are we going to be deliberate about this in terms of policy?
Well, I think it has to start with the family. And that's why in the US, for example, people are told, allow your children go into sports. Let them see you do it. That's why Americans will jog. You find daddies, mummies are hitting the pavement, running. So that the children, as they grow up, they can see these things. So if you ask me again and again, I'll say it's got to begin with the family. Do it yourself. If government does not press the button, you go ahead from the family. So you don't wait for anybody. And by the time you start, they start seeing the numbers. They will now know what to do. The little they've provided, bounce on it. Let that be your lever to move forward. While we keep making the noise or telling government, doing advocacy, that government should please pay attention and change things. As I speak to you, somebody has just moved, a Brazilian, into Saudi Arabia, where they are paying 200 million euros. And then they've given him a house.
Is it per year or what?
That is the total deal for 2 years.
2 years.
Yes. Or let's even take Messi. That's a total deal for 2 years.
Yes.
And they have said to him, you have a mansion of 25 rooms. Chef to prepare things for you. Swimming pool where you can relax.
It's domestic stuff.
Private jets, anytime you want to travel, members of your family, people to move and anywhere, everywhere. Or let's even look at the story of Moises Caicedo. Moises Caicedo, a young boy who. It's a long story. If you put me into my full gear, and then we'll start.
Yes, because I will make sure you don't lose that trend of thought. There's a message in there. It says it's indeed a pleasure to hear from you again. I cannot forget how you popularized USA 94. You're talking of Dr. Larry Izamoje and hyped our Super Eagles appearance on the Fiesta via program in OGBC. Larry, by the way, you remember the OGBC years. You brought the worry touch to it, and memories of those remain evergreen with
God
us.
be the glory.
By the way, does Larry have national honors yet? Do you have a national honor?
Well, I don't, and
so you can
I'm
imagine.
just doing my thing.
This from a lot of Godfrey. You see, the national honors would begin to go to those who really deserve them. Now, should sports be treated as an instrument of government policy on youth engagement? Because the issue here with Nigeria is what do we do with these numbers? I hear people say Nigeria, one of our greatest strengths is our population. But what is the value of this population? What do we do with it? And sports is a platform that can envelope and engulf and make something useful.
Yeah,
so
the answer, the name I was trying to, the man I was trying to talk about, Neymar. That's the name I was saying.
Yes.
Yeah, for this question you asked, the answer is yes, and a big yes, because you want to look at what people overseas have done. America, for example, said to people who design policies, do things for us that will match what Lena, a tourist, put down. He talked about getting a society where young men and women are giving first grade character.
Yes.
And so when character is good, you are sure you are fighting criminality in a way. You are fighting laziness in a way. So you produce people of good character. And then in the process of building character, you make them know how to care for themselves and care for their countries. So you don't breed people who eventually will become very corrupt, and in that case not caring for their countries, thinking they are caring for themselves, but in a way killing themselves and killing future generations. And so when you build that, you now look at competencies, and then you say, okay, this man is competent in doing swimming, this one, football, this. You understand this thing? So what America did was to then create USBs, NGBs, 47 of them now. So you find US Soccer Federation.
Okay.
Look out for young people, youths, engage them when it comes to kicking the ball. If anyone can run, USA track and field, please. Anyone who can jump with a ball, US basketball. So these are ways they did it deliberately. So it became sports, became a pillar.
Yes. An enabler.
An enabler for helping youths. So these are the kind of things we expect our people to do. We go by names. What do we have now? Initially, we had Ministry of Youth and Sports.
Yes.
But a few days ago, it became Ministry of Sports Development. How they would develop. Now youths have been pushed to the other side. Even if you look at the Nigerian budget, you find that in a whole year, when it was Minister of Youth and Sports, 192 billion. What would that be enough to do for a country with a youth population of over 60%? So we've got to deliberately say our policies must match what Lena said, and then ensure that these guys are integrated into the mainstream society, throwing balls at them, and that way you make them become very relevant, and then you kill some of these societal vices just because of the policy you formulated and implemented.
Fantastic. You started from South America, and that really resonates and interests me. Why do I say so? Because I know that in Brazil, for example, and Argentina, government is deliberate. They create football academies. They make sure that the private sector back it up, and they back them with policies that envelope and make sure that they give them the safety net that is required for development. Now, these academies produce a lot of young people, and they teach them character, they teach them competence, they teach them skills. The ones they retain at home play for very good teams in Brazil. The ones they don't retain become incubator for the market they face, which is the European market. And that's why you see at 16, 17. In fact, Martinelli of Arsenal came to Europe on trial at 15. He went to Real Madrid. He went to Barcelona. Then from Barcelona, he went to Manchester United and landed at Arsenal, who saw the potential. And today we know the story of Gabriel Martinelli and many of them. So if they export on a yearly basis, say 100, you imagine the fees that are paid as sign-on fees. Then imagine in terms of return, what they send back to families in Brazil and what that does to the economy. That is a low-hanging fruit.
We can't
so that is South Africa. Can that be replicated here?
Well, it is supposed to be so. But again, you find that when these clubs want to do things here, government itself becomes a problem. Which is not what we have.
Yeah, that's the safety net I'm talking about.
So we should talk more about things that will encourage those in authority to make approvals easier. You just talked about Brazil. Pele wrote his book and titled it My Life and the Beautiful Game. That should let people know that this beautiful game is also a money spinner. Take Lionel Messi's story. That in itself should encourage anybody and everybody. A young boy who they found to have a very big medical condition,
Yes.
growth hormone syndrome. But again, because he was in an academy playing football, the link to Barcelona was there. And somebody came from Barcelona, a director, to watch him play. And when he saw the dribbles and heard that the boy is not feeling well, the parents cannot even pay the money. But because the academy was linked to the big club in Europe, on a piece of paper. In fact, the one they call the little room paper. You know what I mean by that?
Yes.
So on that little room paper, he wrote a contract. And that was a contract that was signed. And that was how the boy, the parents, all saw Europe for the very first time.
Wow.
And from there, today, the man we are talking about is a part owner of Inter Miami.
Incredible.
You understand? You say it. He has worked for 3 European clubs, saw out his contract in each of the clubs. And when you see out your contract in any club, it means that the next one you are going to, no agent.
Yeah.
So transfer fee, your own money, everything goes straight to your pocket.
Yeah.
And so when you say this guy is super rich, it is because of what they learned while in Argentina and then got to Europe, and the learning did not stop. I like telling stories. I called Moses Caicedo.
Okay.
Caicedo's parents, like I earlier said, families must know that this thing starts with them.
Yes.
When you meet government, let government join you, but don't wait for government.
Okay.
When Caicedo's parents saw that the young boy could kick football, they took him to a playing field and told the coach he likes to play, but we can't even buy a boot.
Wow.
The coach's name, Ivan Guerra, bought the boot for Moses Caicedo. And from there, they kept training him. Later, the young man joined a club called Independiente Val, from where they sold him to Brighton for 4.5 million. And Brighton has just made how much now? A profit of 110 million pounds in just 2 years of having that boy. But again, because you say, is it an enabler? The young man has also bought a house for the family.
Yes.
The same family that could not buy football boots. So you see what this thing can do for a family. The same boy now earns $150,000 every week from 15,000 at Brighton. So it's an enabler. It's something that changes lives. It's something our people should now start saying to say, wow, this is something we should allow our people to do. I want to prescribe that we go back to those things we had in the days of missionary schools when it was compulsory 4 to 5 for you to go to the playing fields.
Yes.
My brother, I did small shot put.
You did?
Yes, in school, because we were forced to do. I played table tennis. We were forced to. When the boys dribbled and I saw that I couldn't kick very well, I had to go to the table tennis area. So we had choices. But today, what do we have? Little fields are taken up by those who say
the people housing estates
everywhere.
This is The Discourse with Dr. Ken.
Larry, I wanted to still stick to a bit of economics and policy, but let me go into EPL now that you've mentioned Moses Caicedo and Brighton. I have some figures here. Brighton, in the last 2 transfer windows, have spent 56.6 million pounds, but they've made 236 million pounds. Such a small club, and you can see they're consistently in the top 8. And in fact, the quality of football they play, if sometimes when they play the top 4 clubs, the traditional four clubs, if not that they wear blue stripe, you would think that they are the semi-champions of England. Now, what a business model is this? There are clubs. If you take Chelsea, for example, we are talking about 2 billion, almost 2 billion, 1.9 billion in the last 3 transfer windows. Yet you can see that struggle. So, what's the relationship between big budget and big success?
Well, it depends on the internal mechanism and also external factors. If you take Brighton, for example, they've been very careful the kind of people they've hired as coaches. Again, the temperament of the owner, Anthony Bloom, has indeed blossomed in terms of managing coaches well and also being the father figure to all the players who come
and the director of football.
the owner.
Okay.
Yeah, the owner.
I'm talking about the role of there must be a director of football there.
Yes, they do have all those departments. Because what you do with EPL teams is that every unit is carefully carved out, and they look at scouts, and they also look at how they sell. They are also very good when it comes to negotiating power.
Okay.
For example, with $9 million, Calista was bought from Argentino Juniors, and when they sold to Liverpool, they sold for 35 million. So check that. Moses Caicedo, 4.5. You sold for 100. So that has helped them. But if you ask if money is a big factor in successes, I will tell you yes. Bigger than the other things that the Brightons of this world have tried to do. That's why, yes, they succeed, but they have their level. It's like you have 7.
It's a business model.
Yes, 7 which is under 10.
Yes.
8 which is under 9. 9 which is under 10. So that is how it goes. So those who throw the biggest money seem to get the greater successes. Okay. An example, in the year 2008, Sheikh Mansour bought over from Shanawatra, Man City. Okay. And within 2008 and today, he has thrown in 2.5 billion into Manchester City. What do we have? Open the door of the trophy room and you can now count 20 trophies. Because of what? The kind of money he has pumped into it. So the more money you pump, the more coaches, the better the coaches are able to attract to the team. And that's why Hughes, Pellegrini, and all those other coaches had to make way. And the one they call the number 1 coach in the world, Pep, is the one that is still holding on, hanging on there, doing great things for the club. All because of the investment coming from the owner. 7 Premier League trophies, 3 FA Cups, 6 League Cups, 3 Community Shield Cups, and now the Champions League. So there's nothing that you have put in front of Man City continentally that they have not conquered, all because of a man who has said, I will not stop investing until I get everything I want in the cabinet room. So put in more money, go to City, and you find wonderful fields, new things. Go to the technology room, and you find the latest. People now know when City plays you, City will know ahead of time who gets the ball the fastest. That's why Pep will tell the boys 30 seconds. When you hear Pep say 30 seconds, what he means is that the opponent must not hold the ball for more than 30 seconds.
So when you hold
team organization is even better when they're off the ball than when they're on the ball. So it has to do with money. How you read your opponent, how you prepare your own team, what the boys feed with, when they are paid, how they are paid, how make everybody happy. So those who have spent more money, we are doing better. So
there's a correlation.
Yes, there's a correlation.
So with this huge support system Pep has on Man City, if you take Pep to West Ham, for example, who can he achieve that?
Well, West Ham is becoming a very good club.
No, I'm not talking about West Ham as it is. Because you had just said he's the best manager worldwide. Yes. Because what I know of him is that he was a good player. I mean, he played number 6, which is defensive midfield for Barcelona. Very good captain. Then he went ahead to become Barcelona. I'm coming, Larry. He went ahead to become Barcelona's head coach. Yes. And he won the league with Barcelona, won the Champions League. Went to Bayern Munich, won the league with Bayern Munich, didn't win the Champions League there. Then he came to City. I have the feeling that every club he has been to, people before him had won things in those clubs. So he's a man that rides on superstructure. So the question I ask is that
they did not win the Champions League.
They didn't, but they won. Anybody who goes to Bayern wins the league. Anybody who's manager of Real Madrid or Barcelona wins the league anyway. So when it comes to City, it's not a surprise to me that I won the league. I'm just asking, if you took Pep Guardiola, because I'm trying to measure productivity to West Ham, what do you think he would achieve with the resources and infrastructure West Ham has? Well,
one, he's human. And so he's not perfect.
Yes.
So, and then 2, we don't know if when he gets to West Ham, it will be as smooth as it has been for him in terms of policies and interactions with the owners. The backing he has enjoyed at Man City, he might not get when he gets to West Ham. If you look at it, who knows? He might get to West Ham and there may be dislocation within the dressing room. What they had in PSG, where Mbappe became the big boy in the room where they had Neymar, and was even telling Neymar, leave me to play penalties. Where the club had to at a stage give some of the powers to a particular player against other players. And those were the little things that caused this affection. So we don't know when he gets to West Ham, whether it will be as smooth as, take Chelsea for example. Graham Potter and others who arrived believed that everything was going to be smooth, only to get there and external factors.
Yes.
Boli himself, the owner, became the man fully in charge, in charge of recruitment and others. So, whereas a man is very good, it also has a lot to do with the kind of conditions that he finds himself dealing with. I want to think that if you throw a Pep there and give him the same conditions
he
enjoys,
I mean, conditions at West Ham are limited.
They are
That's
limited.
Why,
So because of that, he might not do too well. He might not win the Champions League.
So he's not he's not as superhuman as we think.
That's why I started by saying it's not perfect. But that's not to say that there's still anybody living that has done better with the game of football, particularly in the last 7-8 years, or even 10-13 years than Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, I get that, but I'm just wondering if you took those superstructures away from him, if he would still be Pep. Maybe he'll be Guardiola, but not Pep. You know,
well, like we usually say in Pidgin Parlance, monkey they jump from tree to tree
because the trees are close to each other. Now, Larry, culture. Can we use sports to shape the culture of a nation? What is the role of culture in sporting dynamics?
Well, first we must look at what culture is. Norms, set of ideas, set of rules, way of living. What is sports? Sports teaches that you have to abide by rules. You've just got to abide by rules. And so if society is saying we want characters, we want individuals who will abide by rules, and sports teaches that, you don't need to ask the question whether sports is a part of culture or culture should be a part of sports. Sports will teach you that you've got to cooperate with others because you cannot be alone in a society. And that is also what is done in the open society. You said we should prepare for a parable. So when it's time, maybe I'll give the one I have. Yes, I'll drop that. So you find that the benefits you get from sports, our society is looking for culture, is looking for healthy members of its community. And sports teaches health, giving you the reason to prove your humanity, show who you are. So if you look at what people benefit from sports, you are hailed when you achieve. That's in sports. In society, also when you achieve things, people want to make you achieve. So if you look at sports and look at culture, you find that there's that synergy. So sports can indeed be a very strong societal pillar. Yes,
I asked that deliberately because I'm going to come back to Nigeria. Because there's a message coming. It said an average Nigerian cannot name more than 5 clubs in Nigeria. Why is it so? Listen, when we have a bracket of the same demographics. I mean, you remember Enugu Rangers very well. You remember ICC, Canopilas. Those days, you remember when we go to National Stadium, I mean, when there's a game, ICC and Rangers, by 12 noon, that you cannot go through Adenero Gosaya. No talk of the Western Avenue. What has changed?
Well, times have changed. The environment is not the way it used to be. There's acculturation. So you find that the world has become a global village. The power of TV in sports. And you find that the local game has been suffering. As I speak to you right now, our local game is not even on TV. And so what the NPFL is trying to do is to put it on digital media. So they're trying to work with a group so that beginning with the next season, which hopefully will start next month, people can use their telephones and watch these teams play. Again, we've not been able to build these things as brands. You see, when we were growing up, nothing else took it away from us. So we had to do with what was in front of us. Enugu Rangers, Bendel Insurance. I remember traveling from Warri to watch Bendel Insurance play Canon Sports in Benin. Not so these days. Because of the power of the telephone technology, you stay in one place and you click. Because they've been able to build theirs into brands. You find that we all now associate. We try. Like you are an expert in brand architecture. Can I talk to an expert in this area? But let me just try. Doc, because these things have become brands, we all try to watch. And once we watch, we want to repeat watching.
Because there's affinity.
There's affinity. So once we continue watching, we develop the loyalty. And because we develop the loyalty, we become associates. So there's brand association. And before you know, we are purchasing and purchasing and purchasing, and they're using the money to keep developing theirs. Whereas our people here, nothing is happening. Again, the apron strings of government, too strong on clubs. So, for example, Eyimba was super because of the money that the then governor Uzokalu threw in. After Zokalu, what happened to Imba? A dip. And now they are beginning to rise again. But the good news we have concerning our local game is that some investors are beginning to come out to say, we want to put our money in these things. Those who now know that the Global Sports Report says that Africa will be the place where sports will be greatly developed. For example, take Remo Stars. Our dear brother Akunle Soname has been able to throw so much money into it. And so Remo Stars playing in the Champions League. Here in Lagos, Sporting Lagos, the Paystar co-owner, Shola Akinlade. So these are guys who understand that, yes, we don't have to wait for government. Let's see what we can do. So those who run the league should spend money in, or let me just go this way, should go back and look at what we call the marketing mix. So that they now know how to market the brand, how to. It first and foremost has to be a brand.
Build the brand
Before
first.
I throw my money into it, you've got to build the brand. So they all have to go and look at the marketing mix. Who are the people that run the clubs? Who are these people that run the clubs? Do they know how to run clubs? What and what should
Or
they
even
do?
run businesses. What is the purpose
What
of
is the
business?
whole purpose of it all?
Business,
A man carries a portfolio with a letterhead inside, a rubber stamp, and he says that's the secretariat of the club. You tell the man, where can I meet you? He says, any hotel. You don't meet anybody in any hotel because you want to write a proposal concerning the club. Profit and loss accounts. How many have you seen concerning Nigerian clubs? My brother, you don't have time. You've just told me to write a book.
We'll congest it. But talking about sports and youth and engagement, because those questions were deliberate, because I knew you have capacity to bring it all together, which you've done. Now, I know that in the EPL, when you have midweek games on Wednesday, which is Champions League Tuesdays and Wednesday, and Saturday and Sunday, which is weekend games, especially for the early morning kickoff on Sundays, you find out that people leave their houses as early as 7 a.m. trooping to the stadium. What the police do, they cordon off and make sure that there is a designated trunk road that funnels everybody to the stadium. Now, statistics is showing that every day they have such games, that crime rate in the UK falls, especially in the region where such big matches hold, fall by 51%. What it does for the UK government is that, therefore, they do not need to fund the police so much, because they've used sports as instrument of security. Do we understand that there's a nexus, a connection between sports and security?
I don't think we fully do. I don't think we fully do. That is why you find that, take for example, in the UK, when people go and secure match venues, they hardly turn, even when people scream, it's a goal, because they know first and foremost that they've come there to secure everyone. So they keep looking at everyone. Now technology is being used so that you stay in a room like the VAR room and you see every movement in the stadium. We are not doing that. What we still have, and although they are trying their best, I'm not condemning the Nigerian police, but you find that people want to still see the dribble. You want to hear, so you still hear his policeman talking to the friend by the corner. They score. How did they score? So these are things so training is a great part of it all. People must go back and say, what do we do? You see what the English did. You can link with the theory of a man called Barry Buzan. He came up with what is called the Copenhagen security theory, where security is not only about the military. So when the average Nigerian hears security, they think it has to do with just equipping the military. No.
It's intelligence.
There is social security. Where sports becomes a unit. You get that? There's economic security where sports becomes a unit. So if you go to a match venue and you secure the players very well, you secure every place, the cars everywhere, you are protecting a future Osimhen. And when Osimhen makes money in Italy and builds in Nigeria, employs people in his academy in Nigeria, I'm just saying a few things about what they can do with money. You then find that people are being employed. Take Ojo Igalo, for example, who has orphanages here in Lagos. The money he makes overseas brings back home, and that's employment for people. So in a way, sports becomes a full pillar for security because it secures money to a family. It's employment for everybody. Okay, let's take another one. The Teslim Balogun Stadium in Lagos on a match day. The stadium itself was built by people. So engagement, employment. And then you go into the stadium, you want to watch a match, you are buying tickets. somebody is attending to you.
Yes.
That person is employed. You get into the stadium, you take a seat, supplied by somebody, cleaned by somebody, so even cleaners.
So that's commercial activity.
So you find that the sports value chain helps to reduce criminality, like you just said.
Yes.
It helps in many ways. People are there whose jobs are to drive the teams, so drivers are employed. People are there to sweep the buses. People are there in the dressing room to drop the kits, and after the match to take away the kits and wash. So cleaners are also given jobs there. Some even to just ensure that the boots are patched or changed. So people supply the wares.
Huge value chain.
So there's it's a very, very big value chain, which, because of the level of employment that it gives to people, can help and does help reduce criminality. And who are those who do these things more? The youths everywhere. And now that our young men and women are crazy about technology, Real Madrid will tell you they are doing football without walls. So you don't say you are just going to watch Real Madrid and going to one venue. Real Madrid is everywhere, in your bedroom, in your toilet. And so if our people are engaging our young men and women, as they carry their phones everywhere, a man who is busy trying to know the latest concerning the Nigerian team playing today will not think about robbery. And then how do you make them enjoy the day? So you find that in these advanced countries, people no longer go to watch matches. Like we say here, where are you going? I'm going to watch a match. No, people go to get match day experiences. And what do you call match day experiences? You get there, you want to see a barber, they barb you. You get there, you want to do your hairdo, change your wig or anything, they do for you. You also want to get a drink, you want to eat. Rather than tell your friends, let's meet after the match in one place in Obalende or Surulere, you can do it right there in the stadium. So that's why you find that most venues are not filled up until about 15 minutes to matches. But the fans are already in. They're having match day experiences. That's why in Qatar, they even did hotels in the stadium. So that from your hotel room, you can watch matches.
I'm happy you brought that, and I'm happy you also mentioned the role of brand. In fact, when I hear football teams or even administrators of people make the argument that a former footballer should head a football association, I laugh. You know, that is not what it's about. What it's about is about building the brand, putting together management and understanding what the time is. Because what you just talked about is convergence. What business wants is convergence. They want you to build viewership. When you build viewership, owners of radio, TV stations, which is media, will have the and once they can deliver audience, then advertising comes in. When advertising comes in, revenue comes both for them and those who are creating content.
In one man, Dr. Ken. So somebody who can speak the language everybody can understand.
Everybody can understand. So it's more
not somebody who will speak and say, kick the ball on green grass.
No. It's not just about you.
We're talking business.
We're talking the business of sports. Now we go on break, and when we come back, we talk about the phenomenon called Saudi Arabia and how football shapes foreign policy.
This is The Discourse with Dr. Ken.
Today we are discussing the big business of sports, and the question is football, is sports bigger than oil? I'm sure the last 45 minutes you would have had answer or at least lead to that question. You can reach us on 090-921-72973. I take it again, 090-921-72973 at Classic FM 97.3. I talked about Saudi Arabia, Dr. Larry. Now, people who don't understand it will say, what the hell is going on here? You could see, unlike what China did, they are deliberate about it. In fact, they have taken even the man who was successful in terms of recruitment at Chelsea, when Chelsea was Chelsea. You could see Manuel Emenalo has gone there, so he's putting it all together. So, football, just apart from culture, apart from engagement or employment, security, has now, Saudi Arabia have shown that it can become a foreign policy instrument for them. And they are building on it. So, how do you see it? What the hell is going on there?
Well, it had to be. Because Saudi was beginning to get negative press, hard knocks, when people talked about human rights abuses, particularly with the death of Jaban Costco guy. So when that happened and they traced it to a Saudi prince, and even the USA started to make the propaganda against Saudi, Saudi thought that sports would be a good instrument, a faster instrument that would deliver on their promise as a nation. And so some may call it sports washing, but what they told the people is that they want, like Qatar did, they want people to now embrace sports more in Saudi. But we know what they're trying to do. It's about positioning themselves rightly. And it's not only football that they've used. They've also used golf. So when you go to golf, you go into the high end. When you go to football, you go into the middle and the low end. I hope you understand that. So that's what Saudi has done. Live golf in Saudi Arabia. At the end of the day, the PGA in America had to say, let's work together. And so they've captured that. And if you see what they have done now, it's $6.4 billion that they have kept aside to make football popular, draw some magic from particularly EPL. And strategically position 4 teams to be the lead teams. So that's why you find that the way they buy the players from a public fund called Public Investment Fund, PIF. So they buy key players. One club cannot dominate, so that you don't end up having a Man City, having a Bayern, having a PSG. So what Saudi is trying to do is to make their league very competitive, so that Al Nassr, Al Ittihad, Al Shabab, Al Hilal, those are the 4 teams. And then some other teams, Al Ali and others, will also get some players. But the key players, 12 key players, max 14, will be shared to those 4 teams. So you find that this wins this year, the other wins the other year. But what are they trying to achieve? To show that with a lot of money, they can rewrite the story. The narrative will change. And it is beginning to change. When you hear Saudi Arabia, what first pops up now in the mind? A place where big names have gone to. And then if you fail to come, they also make you a part of the system. Messi may be in faraway America, but anytime he has a day or two, like he did when he was in PSG, he runs to Saudi Arabia to do something so that people will know that these Saudis are beginning to see sports as a foreign policy tool. That is what we should be doing. Not running when Anthony Joshua is fighting, or you hurriedly bring him to see Mr. President. The man gets there. The day he wins, they say Anthony Joshua of Watford, England has won. The day he loses, they say this Nigerian did not do well. I hope you understand. So let's bring pure breeds. We have so many of them in swimming with all the waters everywhere. It's all about planning this thing very well. Look at what the Saudis did. They went and got Jerry, brought him, somebody who has for many years worked in English football. So they didn't say it must be our countryman. If it will take somebody from Ecuador, somebody from Colombia to help Nigeria
build the superstructure,
let's get the person. So that the rest of us will learn under that person. Because like I said, we have to go to the USA to learn how they do sports radio. And that's why we've been struggling, in quotes, in the last 21 years.
Fantastic. There's a message here. It says, can sport become a national resource? Of course, during the course of this conversation, I've answered that. Listen, the EPL alone, the transfer market, current transfer market, the last figures is £1.95 billion.
Let me even help that person. Can it be a national resource? Take broadcast rights of the EPL. When they started, $214 million. And then external broadcast rights, 40 million. 10 years later, it came to 1.5 billion.
Really?
UK, 1.5 billion overseas. Dollars. As I talk to you, 2023, 5 billion UK broadcast rights, 5.5 international broadcast rights. All the money going straight to the city of London. And then you ask me, can sports be a national resource?
In fact, we shouldn't even be bothering with this oil. We should just look at our youth and look at sports and see, is this our own oil?
People are wasting.
Yes.
See, at times when I drive and I see young men and women, you see muzzles not being used for anything. You look at our waters, nothing is happening. Look at the places where they should be. The National Stadium in Lagos. Rot everywhere. The other day, the floodlight fell. Look at Abuja, the National Stadium in Abuja.
This is incredible.
We started begging Dangote and Baba Ijebu to help the country repair its national stadium.
Now, Larry, the female World Cup. Listen, the attention now is being drawn to the female football, and you could see that the standards have been accelerated. You know, in fact, I was watching both when Nigeria played England and then the quarterfinals and the semifinals. You couldn't even realize whether there's a gap, if at all. You know, so do we pay enough attention to that sector of our sports life? Female football in Nigeria. Because I saw what happened at the World Cup. Once it was penalties, something told me we are going to lose because penalties requires a lot of organization and a lot of discipline and planning. So you could see that all that came true when we took those penalties.
Again, listeners who will hear this, will you answer? Before the World Cup, how many of those girls did you hear of? How many of those names did you know? So that would tell you planning has been a problem. The coach himself, was he here? Was he ever here? How well did they do things? When they played, did you see them play? For us to even do criticisms or throw one or two things, words of advice. But again, the good thing about Nigeria participating is that for the very first time, little girls could go to the bank now with $60,000, which was what each player got. And for winning the World Cup, so they can now go back and say, we can now do better.
We can do it.
We should go ahead and fight. Because from winning the female World Cup, each of those Spanish players got $270,000 per player. And then FIFA paid the FF, that is the Football Federation, their own monies separately. FIFA has now announced that between now and the next female World Cup, teams will be encouraged to pay girls like they pay men. So don't be surprised if soon. Yes, don't be surprised if very soon you start hearing people like Linda Caicedo, who plays for Real Madrid, Wonder Girl, at the age of 18, will now be earning maybe $200,000 a week. That's what FIFA is beginning to say. FIFA is saying so. FIFA is also saying that at the next female World Cup, they will be paying the girls the same thing they pay the boys.
Parity.
So there's going to be parity. FIFA is also saying they want every member association to now have virile leagues. So if the one we are doing here has not been good, FIFA will help Nigeria. I tell people this is the time to buy balls and deliberately throw at your girls.
Girl child,
let the girl child play.
So
she may just save the whole family from poverty, like Linda Caicedo.
It may just be the window. Now, as we are wrapping, because you are going to give us your favorite song for the week, and you are going to give us your proverb, African proverb for the week. Now, as we are rounding up, let me ask you: this thing we call sports, is it science or is it art?
Well, it's the way I think I should go with this. Sports to me gives the opportunity to express the innate characteristics of man. It helps you to bring out your humanity, the human spirit, those things that God imbued in man. And in the process of doing it, you can now use scientific methods. And so science becomes an enabler for the human, for the humanity to show, for humanity to express himself. Therefore, to me, sports is art. Again, you want to look at a few sports competitions or some sports. You just want to liken them to pure art. E.g., gymnastics, the dribbles that you find in soccer, not playing lines and too much strategy. Like Ateta tried to do, telling 3 men to stay behind so that they can concede the second goal. So not that kind of thing. But when you are able to dribble, you are showing the flair that God has given man, artistry. So you find that sport becomes an art. Even dancing, competitive dancing, skating, archery. So you find that man is beginning to express a few things because if you just come out and sit down, say you are a man, no, that's not enough. God said man should be competitive. So sports gives you that. Man should express himself. The spirit in him should come out. So you don't kill that. And sports gives you that platform to express all that. So if you ask me, it is more art. Or it is art, helped in a little
enabled by science. Fantastic. That was Dr. Larry Izamoje. What you've just experienced today is a fantastic installment of the Discourse. Next Sunday we'll come back to you on a very, very special topic, marketing, and what tech and science has done to marketing in the 21st century. Do you have that African proverb for the week?
Yes, I do, and the one that strikes me most, which I try to tell people about, is that you cannot fully hug or embrace the oak or baobab tree no matter how long your hands are.
Okay.
What that teaches is that you need people. The benefits of that tree, if you want to get it, by first going to bow to the tree so that you are able to cut it and get things from it. To bow there, I mean to greet. You need people if you want to fully hug the baobab tree. So you need people around you. And in any case, take it to the business school. You find that they tell us these days that the number one resource is not even the product, not promotion, but people.
People, yeah.
And so you need people. If you are small, you need people to grow. If you are very, very big, you need people to help you stay there. And if you need to come down, you need people to hold the stairs.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And I'm very sure you should be ending your Sunday on a good note, because we've provided you content, we've provided the best sports as business can ever be. We'll take the song for the week as pushed to us by Dr. Larry Izamoje. Thank you very much and have a fantastic Sunday ahead.
And that's it on The Discourse with Dr. Ken.